On the 5th day of Vlogmas, my art content will be rolling up an alternate creature. Maybe this time line art. Rolling for our alternate monster encounter. D4. What kind of monster is this? It's an elemental. An elemental from what environment? That's cocked. Urban? Alright, so two different kinds of urban elementals. Which one? Doing the Smoke Mephit. Alright, I think we can make that a little Christmassy.
I want to keep a fairly grayscale approach on this since value studies are so great for speed paints. It also just really works for a smoky little guy. Okay, well maybe introduce a bit of warm coolant in there for just a little spice, a little. Value is basically the most important element in illustrative art. Well, I mean, most of my design and painting textbooks argue for color being the most important, but at its core, color is just spicy values. But as I said before, color also quickly blossoms into its own whole field because light and light perception are related, but separately complex sciences. Like, colorimetry is pretty interesting. How color is measured on all the different kinds of color wheels, how to replicate those measurements accurately across all different kinds of media and substrates and lighting. And then eyeball biology is complex because humans have a couple different receptors where some people are better equipped to see in lower lighting, but that's different from the color receptors. But then other people, the brain portion reads the eyeball information differently from other people, and it turns out every eyeball on the planet has a slightly different color cast, so even your own two eyes don't see the same thing, and even that is different from the person next to you. So you can have a definite limitation to the colors you can perceive because of your natural color gamut. But at the same time, you can train yourself to be extremely accurate with color matching. In college, I had one professor who was completely colorblind, but this guy was an absolute legend with color. Total goat. The generational tale of those in the know was that a Benjamin West painting in one of the buildings got stabbed or something during summer maintenance. On accident, yeah, but you know, college work scholarship kids don't always know what careful is supposed to look like. And while the conservators were able to repair the physical painting, this professor was the guy to repaint / recreate the damaged art portion. The content of the painting, as it were. And it was absolutely perfect. If I hadn't heard the story, I would not have ever known. I did hear the story, and I'm not absolutely certain, but on the occasions I was in that building, I think I could maybe see a spot where the light hit a little differently if I looked from a certain angle. But it certainly wasn't the color or brushstrokes or content that gave me pause. Several people swear up and down that it's true. Others in certain positions didn't want to talk about it. But everyone agreed that professor was the man. Speaking of segues, I forgot to talk about another tool on my artist wish list, Astute Graphics. It's a software as a service plugin set specifically for Adobe Illustrator. So not what everyone wants, but I get to use it at my day job, and holy cow, it's amazing. To start with, it's got an automatic saving feature, so you can set it to save your file at specific intervals at, say, every 10 minutes. A lifesaver when you're handling complex stuff. Some other plugins in the set that I love are the Mirror Me Symmetry tool, Randomino for controlled randomization of so many elements, Find Replace, which lets you replace instances of shapes and colors and such, which I use all the friggin' time. Are you kidding? All those little live squares now need to be replaced with big circles? No problem. Phantasm has color control, but as a screen printer, I friggin' love the Phantasm halftone control. Like, it doesn't have to be a brush or a piecemeal graphic. You can just tell it to fill something in with halftones of different kinds and then change it super easily. is so great. Texturino will add texture to your vector art. With Scribe for incredible stroke controls. Stipplism for complex stippling effects. Ink Quest is great for pre-press checks, which is surprising that Adobe doesn't have more of this by default. And then they also have a bunch of other stuff for precision handling different aspects and vector art specific things. I'm a total fangirl of Astute Graphics. Okay, back to the art here. Generally for monsters and other creatures, I prefer to do a bit of research on each one, find different use cases as it were, and other artists' interpretations. Kind of make note of different things that I like, and let that stew for a bit before or during making a bunch of sketches. And then have a battle royale of sketches, and the best one gets turned into a whole painting or drawing or whatever. For Vlogmas, I have not that kind of time, so my process is pretty truncated. I roll up the thing, I look up the official description of the thing as my primary source, and then if it has official art, I take a decent look at it, then abandon it completely and make a couple different sketches, and then turn that into the full art. So I'm more or less inspired by the official art with heavy leaning on the description. With the Smoke Mephit here, that means their claw attacks really stood out to me, and general shapes from the accompanying illustration. Does it have a tail or two toes? I have no idea, but this came out that way. I do regret how those wings came out though, I really should have unworked that shaping. I did consciously take a different smoky effect from the official art. Previously, I've gone with the default smudge brush, which is great for wispy effects, I feel. This time I wanted a more billowy smog feel, so I used just a couple texture brushes from my absolute favorite brush set, the Basic Brush Pack from Mathias Zamecki. And here's the final illustration for that urban elemental, the Smoke Mephit. He's coming down your chimney this Christmas. Thanks for sticking around. Hit that like button if I have at all amused you, and subscribe so you don't miss the next Vlogmas encounter, which takes a decidedly draconic turn. And have a super duper Christmas!